Our guest speaker today, I'll start with what's actually written down. He is a man in love with God. That feels true. Wanting to share that love. Currently serving as the co-chair of the 2023 Global Themes team for all of Centers for Spiritual Living. After several years of serving on the team with me. He's a senior minister at CSL Olympia, Washington since 2017 and spent 3 years each with Lewis Clark Valley, CSL, and CSL Redding, California. The happy father of 2 delightful daughters and the grandfather of Theo, named both for God and the chocolate company. He loves inspiring people through talks, classes, workshops, and retreats, and when away from his center, he enjoys cruising in his Miata with the top open. That sounds lovely. Dark chocolate. I'll eat all the milk. Okay. Gardening, walking, and music. And lucky for us, speaking at Sister CSL centers. So please help me welcome to New Vision Center for the first time, someone I am proud to call a friend, Reverend David Robinson.
Love you. Thank you. Good morning. It's hot here. But I want to take a moment and just see you and love you. What a beautiful community. I watched a talk that Reverend Karen did at the beginning of the month that talked about the heart of this community. And I'm also going to look, there's a camera back there. There it is. And look at the people online. So I'm a minister in a quandary. As I sat in my meditation in the backyard of Bonnie and Jack Saba, who I'm staying with, and I love it because I went out there this morning to meditate, and Jack said, well, it's kind of cool out there. And I looked at my phone and it said the temperature was 76 degrees, which is about 25 degrees hotter than it is in my backyard in Olympia, where I go out to meditate every morning. It's a perspective, isn't it? It's a relative thing. Karen and I were talking earlier this week, and she goes, we're so grateful because it's cooling down at nights now. And that's where I looked at the lows that you guys have, 79, 80, 80. And then I flipped over to Olympia and looked at the highs, 79, 80, 80. And that's a warm trend for us. But I'm happy to be here. I want to give a mention real quick and a shout out to my longtime prayer partner. We went through ministerial school together a decade and almost a half ago, and she's been my prayer partner ever since. And usually we Donna, I'm sorry. Yeah, what's her name over here? Reverend Donna Smith, who lives in Sierra Vista, south of Tucson. And we haven't seen each other in person in years. We see each other on Zoom every other week. But I'm grateful that she's here today. So as I was sitting in meditation, I had this aha that the talk that I have wrote 2 months ago, as soon as Karen and Leslie said, would you come and speak, and it downloaded almost immediately, it went, bye-bye, we're not doing that talk today. And of course, I'm not at home, so I can't run to my computer and make new notes. So hi. Spirit has something to say to you, and I'm not yet sure what it is, but it's coming through. And the main thing is love. I love your theme back here of sowing seeds of love. That is your harvest. I don't know if it's still there or not. It's not there, but it was there earlier, sowing seeds of love. I want to ask you, what is this? Money, $100 bill, love. This is love. I'm teaching a class in a couple weeks at the Unity of Olympia called The Love of Money. And when we think of that, we think of the apostle or writer Paul with that, the love of money is the root of all evil. That's BS. It is. First of all, we can think of a whole lot of evils that have nothing to do with money. And secondly, it's a total misunderstanding. By the way, BS is belief system. Just in case you thought I was saying something else. The question I ask is the love of money. Can we feel the love coming from money to us? Will we allow money to love us? We say that it's all God. Everything is God. All there is God. Yes? Okay. So is money God? Is God love? That's all God is. God, in the nature of the divine, God is love. Emily Cady, a New Thought writer, years ago wrote, God is not loving. That'll catch your attention, right? What the heck? And she went on to say, God is not a being that is loving. God is love itself. Think about that. Feel that. You're in a field of infinite love right this second. It has never gone away. It will never go away. There's nothing you can do or not do that will cause that to stop. I love, we're going to talk later about giving at the luncheon, and I love the phrase, God loveth a cheerful giver. It's nice, and it's partly true, but God also loveth a cheerful receiver. God also loveth a grumpy giver and a grumpy receiver, because God is love. It can't not love you. It cannot not love you. You, in the far back corner of the room, you, over in the far back corner of that room, you sitting right there, God cannot help but love you. It is love. One of my friends said, God is so dysfunctional, loves you no matter what. Now, yes, we have law and there's consequences. That's another talk for another day. But God is love. And so this thing that we call money is love in form. If you have any aspect of money within your purse or your pockets, take it out for a moment. Keep breathing. Notice if your mind wants to go, oh, that's the wrong one, or oh, I don't have enough, or da chatter, right? And look at it. And recognize it as love shining back at you. I don't care whose picture is on it. It's love. When you're asked to give to this community, you're not really being asked to give money. Yeah, that's the form. But you're really being asked to give love. You support this community because you love it. You support this community because it loves you. Breathe that in. In the Northwest, we spend a lot of time in cloudy weather. It thinks about raining for a while, but it mostly just is cloudy. We have term. You know how the people of the far north have 20 words for snow. It's like we have 20 words for rain and clouds, right? We call it the long gray. That's the period from about somewhere between mid-October, the end of October, to about May. And then we enter into June gloom. Summer begins in the Northwest on the 5th of July. That's the day after the fireworks were either rained out or clouded out. And that's our normal. What's interesting, when I was young, I lived in Seattle for 25 years, and I used to love to go hiking in the Cascades off to the east. And I'd go driving out of Seattle on a Saturday morning, and I would look out my window. It would be gray, it would be cloudy, maybe a little misty. And I'd head east. And if you go about 35 minutes east, out past across Lake Washington and out through Bellevue and Redmond and Issaquah, the road climbs up and you hit this 2,000-foot high ridge. You climb over the top of it on I-90. The top of it is called High Point. And as soon as you get over the ridge, what you encounter is, what I encountered many times was clear blue skies, sunny days. And I'd have a wonderful day out hiking in the Cascades, and I'd drive back late in the day, and I'd come back over that High Point Ridge, and what was on the other side of it? Clouds. And I realized that everybody in Seattle had experienced this as a gray day, maybe misting, maybe spitting was some of our words for rain. Not Mary Morrissey. The Energy of Money, Maria Nemeth, talks about a concept. The Energy of Money is a great book, by the way. Talks about the concept of trouble at the border. And trouble at the border is taking action, moving from thought into form. And she says metaphysicians are great above the line. We're great at ideas. We're great at thinking about it. We're great at visualizing it, praying about it, talking to our prayer partners about it, praying about it some more, making another vision board, etc. But we don't take an action. And so we do what she calls metaphysal. We metaphysal. And that's how the clouds in Seattle oftentimes are, is they're metaphysiling clouds. There's a woman who moved from Phoenix to Seattle. And after 6 months, she had not seen the sun. Now imagine, I kind of get the idea that the sun is out a lot around here. Yeah. And so she goes to the little boy next door. He's out playing. Because in the Northwest, you go outside and play no matter what the weather. You just let the weather determine what you're going to wear instead of what you're going to do. See, here, if it rains, you probably wait an hour and it's done, right? More or less. Yeah. So she goes to the little boy and she goes, "Young man, I've been here for 6 months and I haven't seen the sun. When does it come out?" And he gives her this forlorn look and he goes, "How would I know? I'm only 6 years old." If we use the metaphor of clouds, we all live in clouds. We live in clouds of consciousness. We live in clouds of the collective consciousness. We live in clouds of our own personalized consciousness that we've learned. Yes? The truth is, we're here to love each other fully, completely, unabashedly. But we have these clouds. We have these lists. I've got this belly. I'm a little bit too old. I'm a little bit too young. I'm a little bit too thin. I'm a little bit too fat. Or maybe I'm a lot too thin or a lot too fat. I don't have enough money. I have too much money. We have all these lists. You know, I'm going to pick on the Sabas because I'm staying with them for just a moment. I arrived there yesterday, and they have this beautiful home. And I'm inside this beautiful home, and I find out that Jack works in the interior design business. And I said, "Yeah, it shows." And he goes, "Well, yeah, it's kind of like the cobbler's children don't have any good shoes." And I'm sitting there looking at this beautiful home going, "What are you talking about?" And then we look out at the backyard, which is beautiful. And he says, "Well, yeah, but it's a little dusty right now." Who dusts their backyard? And I realize what he's looking at is the list of what's wrong. And I'm not picking on Jack, because if he came to my house, I would have the same list going about my house. I've got a guest speaker coming to stay with me next week, and I'm worried. She's a wonderful Hindu who's had an enlightenment experience. She studied with Amma. Is my house good enough for her? You know, and so we all have these lists. Am I good enough? Is my stuff good enough? Am I going to make a mistake and forget to bring up my introduction notes with them? That wasn't a mistake. That was just a thing. Can we let go of our lists, and can we just love each other? Can we let go of our clouds that we have between ourselves and each other, and love each other? Look around at somebody near you and take a moment to just love them, and let them love you. Buckminster Fuller says, "You never change things by fighting the existing model. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." What I'm talking about today is relocating our consciousness. See, after I would go hiking in the sunshine, I would come back to work on Monday morning, and I'd be all tanned and nice, kind of like the way I'm going to show up at work on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, you know, when I get back from here. And people would look at me and go, "Where did you go? How did you get that tan? Did you go to Mexico? Did you go to Hawaii? Did you go to Arizona?" Okay, California, I'm sorry, but that's the mentality there. Where did you go? And I said, I drove 45 minutes east. Most of us are stuck in our clouds and we don't know how to relocate. We don't know how to relocate into the light. I love the song that we sang at the start, Standing in the Light. Cynthia James. We're always standing in the light, but we forget. And we have these lists and these clouds and this stuff and this junk that we carry around. Does anybody besides me, maybe you guys are really enlightened, I'm not sure, but anybody besides me have a list or cloud? Okay. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. How do we relocate? That's the question. I don't know, so I'm going to sit down now. No. How do we relocate? There's two things we can do. One is external, one is internal. The external one is to pay attention to, what am I feeding myself? What am I listening to? What am I watching on TV? Am I listening to and watching life affirming or life denying? You know, I've given up a number of programs, TV programs, that I used to love to watch because it's like, no, I'm tired of watching murder mysteries and people getting killed and all that stuff. I don't need that in my consciousness. There's enough there anyways, you know. It's like I don't need to keep on piling in more. What am I feeding myself with? And then the second part of the external is, who am I hanging with? You know, one of the reasons you're here, by the way, is because you love hanging with each other, because there's a palpable love, life-affirming energy here, yes? And so you love hanging here. You know, I've been to churches that since COVID got over and they've come back to being in person, find a whole lot of people would rather stay home in their slippers and just not come to the service because it's too much trouble. But they miss the palpable energy. Take a breath. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? There's an energy of love. There's an energy that if I tell somebody my dream, they're not going to say, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? That's not going to happen here, is it? So the question is, who are you hanging out with outside of here? You know, there's a point in my life, my mother and I had a very difficult relationship, and there came a point decades ago, where I heard in meditation, if this woman was not your biological mother, would you have her in your life? And my answer was, hell no. And I had to pull back. Now, I didn't completely cut her off, but I pulled back a lot because I couldn't take that. And sometimes we have to give up friends that maybe we've been buddies since high school or grade school or whatever because they're not life-affirming. Hang out with people who love you enough to speak truth to you and who love themselves enough to know that truth so they can speak to you. Don't hang out with people who are raining on your parade. So those are the two external things. The internal things. The first one is expand your self-awareness. What's really going on? Now, here's the trick about self-awareness. You can't do it by yourself. You can't do self-awareness by yourself because you're so locked into your own belief system, your own clouds. You view them as reality. Years ago, when I first moved to Olympia, my Social Security had just kicked in, and I said, oh my God, I can afford what I've always wanted for 25 years of my life, which is a red Mazda Miata. And they had just come out with a retractable fastback version of it. And it's like, yes. And so I was out looking at it in a dealership with a friend of mine, my neighbor across the street, who was a practitioner student. And I kept saying something that was like, I can't afford this, or something along those lines. And finally, she turned around. We were running around doing errands, and she turned around and she looked at me in the car seat and goes, do you want to continue to affirm that? And I said, no. No, I don't. What was funny is that night I was teaching a class that she was in, and I was telling that story in the class, and I said, and I was saying, and I couldn't remember what I was saying. And I looked at her and said, what was it that I was saying? And I saw her go blank, and she couldn't remember what I was saying because it had been so blasted out of existence that it no longer was there. You guys have coaches here, people here, who will help you with self-awareness. I want to invite the ministers and practitioners to stand up for a moment. These people are trained experts in seeing past your story, seeing through your clouds to the truth and the reality of who you are. Thank you. And I want to invite you, if you're serious about expanding your self-awareness, make an appointment with one of these people this week. That's across the border, right? That's a take it out from thinking about it to doing something. Take a breath. Self-awareness. Starting to pay attention to, wait a minute, what am I really thinking about what am I thinking? My friend who's a musician, Andy Anderson, has a song that goes, I'm always thinking, you're always thinking, do we really think what we're thinking about? And so it's that paying attention. The second internal thing to do is meditation. And I don't mean just putting on some nice music and relaxing. No, I mean a focus. I come out of a Zen Buddhist tradition. So I mean a focused, deep, mind concentration, meditation on a particular quality of the divine that you want to expand more in your life. If we're looking at love, which is always a good thing to look at, because love is not just romantic love, it's everything, right? God is love. God is all there is. It's focusing on that. And it's allowing whatever's in the way. It takes us and moves us up into a higher consciousness. It moves us into that light. It moves us above the clouds. See, we can't necessarily chase the clouds away. We can't make all those clouds of collective unconsciousness go away, right? You know, have we tried to change the world? We can't. Have you noticed? But we can relocate. The Taoist sage Zhuangzi was walking along a path along a river one time with 3 or 4 of his students, and he came to this hut. And this man comes running out of this hut who Zhuangzi recognizes as a former student of his, and he's happy to see him, and he goes, Master, it's so good to see you. Let me show you what I can do. And he takes him down to the river, and he goes down to the river, and he walks across the river on top of the water and back. And Zhuangzi says, that's amazing. How long did it take you to learn how to do that? The man says, 9 years, Master. Now think about that. What does it mean as you're learning to walk on water for 9 years? What does the other 8 years and 364 days look like? You get wet, you bash yourself on the rocks, maybe you break a bone here and there. And Zhuangzi looks at him and he says, that's amazing. He says, you know, Mr. Lee just up the river has a ferry. And for 25 cents, he'll take you across the river anytime you want. Sometimes we're trying to move the whole mountain. Sometimes we're trying to clear the clouds of collective consciousness, the whole world. I have to relocate myself. It's the only thing I can do. It's the only thing I can do. It's the only thing I'm in charge of. So that meditation, self-awareness, and then the final thing is something that hopefully you're all familiar with, or most of you are familiar with, called, what's that thing we teach to do here? Spiritual mind treatment. Yeah, thank you. I forgot. Spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment is a relocation process. The very first step is God is. Not my problem or situation is, but I'm up here. One of my teachers used to say, if it ain't true of God, it ain't true of me. Say that. It ain't true of me. Take that in. Remember that. Breathe that in. God is all there is. God is the love, the wholeness, the infinite intelligence, the whatever it is. God is. And then the next thing I do is remember what? I am. I am one of that. By the way, if you don't know this process, take a class, hire a practitioner for an hour to teach you spiritual mind treatment. It's one of the most powerful tools in all my years of playing in this kind of field that I ever know, that I've ever learned. God is, I am that. Because if it ain't true of God, it ain't true of me. And if it is true of God, it is true of me. Infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite abundance. The universe expresses in abundance. Have you noticed? Have you noticed? Okay. Lots of sand, lots of rocks, lots of stars. I love that new telescope that's up in space that sees farther into the universe than we've ever seen before, expanding our idea of what it is, but it's already there. It's not expanding what it is, it's expanding our awareness of it. And that's what we're doing, is expanding our awareness of our good. Our good is already here, right now. The universe has already laid it at our feet. But we have to take it in. A couple things before you do spiritual mind treatment, though. Number one, vision. Catch what is Spirit's vision for what wants to be in this situation. See, here's the thing. A lot of people will pray for money. Nobody wants money. Nobody in this room wants more money. True. Nobody in this room wants more money. And you're sitting there going, you're crazy. Leslie, where'd you find this guy? You want what money can do for you. You want what that thing will make you feel. You want the experience. We set up money as the vehicle, but oftentimes if we'll go directly for what it is that I really want, we can find other ways to get it. Because the universe has infinite possibilities, infinite channels, infinite ways of creating what it is that you want. Breathe that in for a moment. The Sabas were talking about the other night about staying with somebody who had a very lovely condo up in Seattle that looked straight across almost to Bill Gates' mansion. And what I didn't mention to them was I used to live half a mile away from Bill Gates' mansion on Lake Washington for no money at all. When the house was owned by the Nordstrom family, they paid me to do a little bit of light work while they traveled in Europe. I've lived on Alki Beach, which looks right straight out onto Puget Sound in a luxury condo. I remember the first time I walked into it, marble floor, two-person jetted tub, three bedroom. I've been living in a one-bedroom in a not very nice area of Seattle before, and I put into prayer that I wanted to expand. And I paid less for that than I was paying for my cheap one-bedroom up in North Seattle. Breathe. We oftentimes don't need the money we think we need. It's important to focus on what is the end result I really want. And that's what I treat for. And to help with that is to understand what is the God quality that I want to express here. One or two God qualities that I want to express here. Going for that directly instead of, well, I think I need more money so that I can have this to make me feel this. Just, no, this is what I want to experience. And yes, I want it in tangible form. You know, we're in these, you've noticed we're in these skin suits, right? And we're in these skin suits because Spirit wants to be in the skin suit. So you're God enjoying itself as yourself, right? Yes? You are God enjoying yourself. You are a spiritual being having spiritual experiences in human form. Oftentimes I hear that, well, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. But it's not that. I'm a spiritual being. I'm God in form. Enjoying that. So those are the three internal practices. Self-awareness, which you can't do by yourself. Meditation, deep meditation to the light. And finally, spiritual mind treatment. How am I doing on time? You know what it means when a minister looks at his watch during a talk? Absolutely nothing. I have one more thing I want to say. I kind of hinted at it earlier. We live in a universe that is not about just giving. We live in a universe of giving, receiving, the in-breath, the out-breath of the universe. You can't just breathe in or just breathe out. If you've ever tried it, you know your body will sit there and kind of whack you up alongside the head and say, you're no longer in charge, you're going to pass out for a moment so I can get you back to breathing right. Okay? The first thing that any of us ever did when we were born, the very first thing, we took in a breath. We received oxygen. You can't give if you don't take in and if you don't receive. Most of us, our clouds in our culture are, be a giver. Give. Give till it hurts, and then give some more. Wrong. We have to receive first. We have to receive. We have to utilize. You know, I know people who have what I call money diarrhea. As fast as it comes in, that's how fast it goes out. Doesn't matter the amount. It can be a huge river. Build a lake or a reservoir. That's what we do with our lungs when we breathe. We take in, we use that oxygen to go to our brain and our heart and then the rest of our body. And then we release what's left over. You give from your fullness, and you can't be full if you're not receiving. If somebody pays you a compliment, can you receive it? You did a great job. Oh, anybody could have done that. Oh, it was just my team. It wasn't just me. It was the whole team. No, if this person is standing in front of you giving you the compliment, say yes, thank you, and mean it. Thank you. Take it in. Receive. Ernest in the Science of Mind, page 267.5, if you want to pull out your textbooks and follow along. What, you don't do that here? My folks don't do that either. We do not take harvest. We do not take what we wish, but we do attract to ourselves that which is like our thought. A person must become more if they wish to draw a greater good into their lives. You and I have to expand who we really believe that we are. So we actually don't really have to expand who we are, because we already are that. We just don't know it. We've just forgotten it. We've just gotten clouded in. And it is time to relocate to a perspective where I can remember the truth of who I am. So I always give homework. I want to give 2 pieces of homework for you this week. Number 1, relocate your consciousness. You've just gotten some tools. Make an appointment with a practitioner or minister, somebody who can help you work through that. Practice meditation, practice spiritual mind treatment. Contemplate what you want to create. That's the first practice. And then the second one is practice balancing your giving and receiving. If you know you're great at giving but not so great at receiving, and I want to clarify, receiving is not taking. We get to be afraid that, we'll become just grubby and all that. Receiving is just receiving. Taking is taking out of fear. I like that thing, I've got to take it. I already told Leslie I want to take that gong home with me, and so I'm not sure how it's going to fit on the airline in my luggage, but and I want to take most of the band home with me too. Maybe all the band. All right, you guys can have them. They're wonderful. Balance your giving and receiving. That's your 2 practices. Are we good with that? Would you practice that this week? Yes? Yes. Oh, good. Okay. I have to say, this is only my 2nd in-person service in 2.5 years. We've been on Zoom for 2.5 years, and last week our community had bought, during COVID, we had bought a facility and finished re-renovated it completely, and we opened up last Sunday for the first time. It was nerve-wracking. It's like, is it going to work? And some of it did, some of it didn't, but it was beautiful, it was wonderful, everybody was touched. Do you have handy, I don't know where the slide person is. Do you have that, Jeff, okay, do you have that first picture that I sent? I said I wasn't going to use it, but if you can. Remember how I said we adapt? And sometimes we forget how to do something new? I dress for Zoom, right? My Sunday Zoom best. Take that down, those legs are ugly. So Karen and Leslie told me that I got it better today. Okay, yes, good. I want to close with something that one of our practitioner students wrote, and she does kind of automatic writing. This is from Spirit to you, so take it in. The green of a meadow, speckled with wildflowers and a rainbow of colors. The sunlight glimmering on the water, the lightning and the storm. Mountains so tall and strong that they disappear into the clouds. All this beauty and power pales in comparison to your magnificence. You are all of that and more because you and I are inseparable. I am your source of all good, and I nourish you in all ways, not just with food, but with health, strength, love, abundance, wisdom, and joy. Because you and I are one, there is no way I can withhold any of these things from you, because I would be withholding them from myself. My nature is to give eternally, to create endlessly. I never withhold. But it is each person's responsibility to receive it. It already has your name on it. I lay these things at your feet. Embrace them, because then you are embracing me. I love you into eternity. Signed, Spirit. Breathe that in. Are we doing music first and then I pray? I pray. Before I pray, then I have an affirmation. I think we have that second slide up there, because I always do an affirmation. Sorry, Jeff. I guess I'll pray, and then we'll do the affirmation. Take a breath. Remember with me that there is one and only one presence. One mind. One heart. One being. One beingness. Pure love. Infinite abundance of expression. Good beyond our idea, our wildest imagination of good. An order, a harmony, a power, a peace, a beauty, a joy. That infinite presence is all that there is. All that there is. Whether we remember or forget it, it still is all that there is. And because it is, then I must be. Every one of us, everything is one of this infinite presence. And so I take this in and know this truth as the truth of myself and every person here, that I am one of this infinite presence, one of this infinite love, one of this infinite abundance, one of this infinite good, one of this infinite order, harmony, beauty, and joy. I am that. Even if I'm clouded over and can't see the sun at the moment, I still am one of that, and that sun is still shining. That is the truth of me. That is the truth of all of us. And breathing that knowing in, I speak my word that this community is blessed, already blessed. It has been given so many wonderful gifts. A beautiful home, beautiful minister team, beautiful practitioner team, beautiful volunteers, beautiful people attending this. There is no list of all the little imperfections. That only exists in our limited mind. There is instead simply the oneness, the truth, the wholeness of the divine being you and me. And I'm grateful to know this truth. This infinite presence is moving throughout this entire stewardship campaign for the center, expressing in ways greater than ever before, because we recognize that we are not just signing up for money, we are signing up to give love. And we give in an expanding way because we live and move and have our being in an expanding universe. And so we allow that expansion of the infinite in its expressions to move through us, to express through us right here, right now, in ways greater than ever before. Say yes. We say yes to the infinite good. We say yes to the infinite God. And so in gratitude, I release this word into that law, that soil, that fertile, fertile soil of spirit, knowing that it knows exactly how to manifest even greater love, even greater wealth, even greater good in our lives than ever before. We simply let it be. We let it do its thing, knowing that it already is so. We simply affirm that by saying, and so it is.